You know, there is a specific kind of panic that sets in when you turn a tap handle and just nothing comes out. It's not just annoyance. It's this, I don't know, this very primal realization of how fragile our modern life actually is.
It's the silence of the pipes. It's probably the loudest sound in a household.
It really is.
Yeah.
And you realize your entire day, your cooking, your hygiene, it all relies on this massive, complex machine that's just running in the background, a machine you usually ignore.
Completely ignore.
And when that happens, we just think, ugh, the municipality. We treat it like, you know, bad weather, something inevitable that just happens to us.
Right.
But today, we are going to look under the hood of that machine. We are doing a deep dive into the engine room of South Africa local government.
Which is frankly where the rubber meets the road for democracy. You can have these great national policies, high-level debates.
Grand visions.
Exactly, grand visions. But if the garbage isn't collected, if the street lights are out, and if the water isn't flowing, the system is failing the citizen in a very real, tangible way.
It's the layer of government you can actually touch or trip over in the case of a pothole.
Yes.
So to guide us through this, we're looking at a really significant thought piece from Dr. Daniel Govender over at the Regent Business School. It was published back in November 2024.
Enhancing local government service delivery in South Africa. And what I really appreciate about this source is that it doesn't just, admire the problem.
We're all very good at admiring the problem.
We are. We know what's wrong. We see the decay. But Dr. Govender goes a step further. He dissects the systemic causes, the why, and then lays out this very specific 5-point toolkit for fixing it.
Right, and he puts it all in the context of the political reality of the time, specifically the Government of National Unity, the GNU. So the mission for this deep dive is to move past the frustration. We want to understand the mechanics of the stall and then, the blueprint for the restart. Because the source makes a really heavy point right at the beginning. This isn't just about administrative boxes to tick.
Not at all. And that is the mindset shift we need right up front. Efficient service delivery isn't just about convenience. It is a tool for social justice.
Okay, that's a big claim. I think most people just want their trash picked up. How do you connect trash pickup to social justice?
Well, think about the alternatives. If the local government fails, if the water is unsafe or the roads are undrivable, who suffers the most?
Right.
The wealthy, they can opt out. They buy generators for power, they drill boreholes for water, they drive SUVs that can handle the potholes. They essentially privatize their own service delivery.
They build a little island of functionality around themselves.
Precisely. But lower-income households, they're stuck with the failing public system. They can't afford that private workaround. So when local government fails, the gap between the haves and the have-nots, it just widens aggressively.
Wow. Okay. So ensuring every household has a decent quality of life. That's the baseline.
It's the baseline for a stable society.
So before we get to Dr. Govender's solutions, we have to look at the diagnosis. Why is the patient so sick? The article identifies 3 massive barriers that are clogging up the works.
The unholy trinity of service failure, you could call it.
Let's start with the first one, which feels like the most classic government complaint. Inefficient bureaucratic processes.
The red tape. And it's easy to just dismiss this as slick paperwork, but the source argues it's actually a structural paralysis.
It's the difference between caution and a coma.
That is a very good way to put it. Bureaucracy is supposed to ensure checks and balances, protect public money. But in so many municipalities, it's morphed into a system where the process matters more than the outcome.
The endless approvals, the meeting to plan the next meeting.
Yes. And meanwhile, the pipe is still
bursting.
Exactly. If you have a critical infrastructure failure, you need agility. You can't wait 3 weeks for a procurement committee to sign off on a replacement part. The source highlights that these systems are often designed for compliance, making sure nobody gets in trouble, rather than for speed or service, and that lack of agility is fatal for essential services.
Which bleeds right into the second barrier.
Yeah.
And this is the one I feel like I hear about most in the news. Resource scarcity.
The harsh reality of the balance sheet. Many municipalities simply do not have the funds or even the physical tools to get the job done.
But is it just that the municipalities are broke? Or is there more to it? Because you hear about budgets being returned unspent sometimes too.
You're spot on. Dr. Govender makes a crucial distinction here. Yes, there's a lack of funds in many places, but it's not just about the absence of money, it's about the allocation and, the management of it.
So you can pour water into a bucket, but if the bucket has holes.
Exactly. Or if you're pouring it onto the ground instead of into the bucket, you're still going to be thirsty.
And those holes. I'm guessing that brings us to barrier number 3.
Corruption and mismanagement. The third and perhaps the most damaging barrier?
The thief of service delivery.
It is. The source is very blunt about this. It's not just about skimming off the top. It's about resources being actively diverted. Funds for a water treatment plant just vanish, or they're used on overpriced, substandard contracts.
It feels like these 3 things, bureaucracy, scarcity, and corruption, they aren't isolated, are they? It's like they feed each other.
They absolutely do. It's a vicious cycle. Bureaucracy creates the opacity, the fog that hides corruption. Corruption drains the resources, which leads to scarcity.
And scarcity leads to desperation and corner cutting, which
often bypasses proper process, ironically leading to more bureaucracy to try and plug the leaks. It's a spiral.
And the result, as the article notes, is that socioeconomic disparities just get wider. It's a depressing picture. But we did promise the listeners a toolkit, not just a eulogy.
We did, and this is where Dr. Govender's work really shines. He proposes 5 key strategies to turn the ship around. And what I like is that these aren't vague concepts. They're actionable.
Okay, let's unpack them. Strategy number 1, capacity building. Now, to be the devil's advocate here, capacity building often sounds like corporate speak for hire more people. Is that it?
It often does sound like jargon, I agree. But the source is arguing for something deeper. It's not about headcount. It's about headwear. It's about the skills and the brain power inside the municipality.
So quality over quantity.
Exactly. Dr. Govender emphasizes investing in training programs, in skills development. You have to remember, Regent Business School, where this comes from, they specialize in things like public administration and supply chain management. They see the gap firsthand.
What kind of specific skills are we talking about? Is it just knowing how to file the paperwork correctly?
No, it's the technical stuff. Project management, financial planning, engineering oversight. You need people who can effectively plan a project, execute it without overspending, and monitor the quality.
It makes sense. You wouldn't ask someone to fix a Ferrari if they've only ever ridden a bicycle. You need a skilled mechanic.
And right now, in many places, we have people in chairs who might have the title, but they just lack the technical training. So, step 1 is upgrading the mechanic's skills. Moving from just a warm body in a seat to a truly skilled team.
Okay, so we upgrade the mechanics. Step 2 is about upgrading the tools. The second strategy is technological integration.
This is where we move into the 21st century. The source points out that while the private sector has gone digital, you can track your pizza on a map, local government is often stuck in an analog world.
You mean paper files, physical stamps, maybe a fax machine in the corner?
In some cases, yes, or just disparate systems that don't talk to each other. So the strategy here is about leveraging digital platforms for 2 key things: better decision-making and, crucially, citizen engagement.
Dr. Govender gives this specific example of real-time feedback systems. I latched onto this because it feels so tangible for the average person.
It changes the power dynamic completely. Imagine you see a water leak. In the old system, you call a hotline. Maybe they answer. Maybe they write it on a piece of paper that gets lost.
You're just shouting into the void, and then you get angry because you feel ignored.
But with the digital integration, you log in on an app, you drop a GPS pin, you get a reference number instantly, you can track the status, logged, assigned, repair in progress, completed.
That transparency is terrifying for a lazy official, isn't it?
It is. It's transparency weaponized for efficiency. If the app says repair scheduled for Tuesday, and Tuesday comes and goes, there's a digital audit trail. It holds the municipality accountable.
But it helps them too, right?
Oh, massively. Instead of relying on anecdotes, they get heat maps of where the leaks are. They can use data analytics to predict where the next pipe might burst.
So it moves from reactive chaos to predictive maintenance. I love that. Okay, strategy number 3, partnership and collaboration.
The premise here is humility. It's the admission that local government cannot do this alone. The challenges are too big, the resources too scarce.
So who are they teaming up with?
Private sector entities, NGOs, community organizations.
Now, I can hear some listeners getting nervous there. Partnership with the private sector can sound a lot like privatization. Is he suggesting they sell off the waterworks?
No, and that's a crucial distinction. He's talking about collaboration, not abdication. It's about tapping into expertise. If a logistics company knows how to route trucks efficiently, why shouldn't the waste management department learn from them?
Or if an NGO has deep roots in a specific community and knows exactly what the social problems are.
Exactly. A local NGO knows that neighborhood better than a bureaucrat sitting in a central office downtown. The source notes that these partnerships lead to solutions that are tailored to specific community needs. It's about breaking down the silo.
It makes sense. Why reinvent the wheel if your neighbor has a Ferrari? To go back to my car analogy. Which leads perfectly into strategy number 4, which is all about the who. Community engagement.
Now, this is distinct from just partnerships with organizations. This is about the individual citizen, and it has to go beyond just voting once every 5 years.
Dr. Govender lists public consultations, town hall meetings, but I have to be honest, town hall has a bad reputation.
Yeah.
It's usually just a place for angry people to yell at some junior official who can't do anything.
It often is. But the source argues that if it's done right, and that's the key, it transforms the relationship. The goal is active involvement in decision-making.
So give me an example of active involvement that isn't just yelling.
It's about the Integrated Development Plan, the IDP. Every municipality has one. If communities are genuinely involved in drafting that, deciding, okay, this year we prioritize the clinic over the park, or we need speed bumps on this specific street, then the psychological aspect shifts.
It fosters trust.
Immensely. When a community sees their input reflected in the actual budget, they feel ownership. They're empowered. It stops being the government did this to us and starts being we decided this.
And I imagine that makes people more patient too. If you know why the road isn't being paved yet because you agreed the money should go to the clinic.
You're less likely to burn tires and protest. Communication kills conflict.
Okay, we have trained the staff, we have the tech, we have partners, and we're listening to the people. Strategy number 5 is how we keep it all on track. Performance monitoring.
The report card. But not just a report card at the end of the year when it's too late to fix anything.
A live dashboard.
Exactly. Dr. Govender calls for robust monitoring and evaluation frameworks. You cannot improve what you do not measure.
He mentions timely interventions.
Yeah.
That phrase stood out to me.
That's the key. If you're doing regular performance reviews based on data, you can spot a bottleneck before it becomes a crisis. If the waste removal trucks are consistently missing one neighborhood, data shows it immediately. You don't have to wait for the rats to show up to know something is wrong.
It brings us right back to that tech integration. If you have the data, you can do the monitoring.
It's all connected. These 5 strategies aren't a menu where you just pick one. They're an ecosystem. You need the skilled people capacity to use the app's tech to monitor the performance.
So that's the what and the how. But we also need to talk about the when. The article places a lot of emphasis on the political context of late 2024, specifically the Government of National Unity.
Yes, the timeline is critical. The May 2024 elections were a watershed moment. No single party held the keys anymore. We entered the era of the coalition, the GNU.
And normally you associate coalitions with instability. Constant bickering, nothing gets done. But Dr. Govender takes a different view.
He does. He sees it as a structural opportunity. He calls it a platform for coordinated policymaking.
Which is a fancy way of saying
that different parties are forced to work together. It breaks the monopoly of power. And he identifies 2 specific pillars where the GNU can actually support local government service delivery, maybe even better than a single-party system might.
Okay, the first one connects back to our empty wallet problem, resource mobilization.
Right. The logic here is that the GNU, if it holds together, it promotes political stability. It signals to the world that South Africa can manage these complex transitions without falling apart.
And money likes certainty.
It loves it. International investment. 8. They flow where there's stability. If the GNU brings that, it directly addresses that resource scarcity problem. It means more budget for infrastructure, for water treatment, for housing.
And the second pillar.
Legal and institutional reforms. This one tackles the red tape and the corruption issues.
How does a coalition help with that?
Well, checks and balances. In a single-party system, it can be easy to hide corruption because everyone reports to the same boss, right?
Yeah.
In a coalition, Party A is watching Party B like a hawk.
That's a great point. Mutual suspicion can actually be good for governance.
Exactly. The GNU has the legislative power to rewrite the rules that are slowing things down, and the political incentive to enhance transparency. If they streamline the rules and shine a light on the spending, they can attack that inefficiency at its root.
So the argument is that the GNU provides the political vehicle to drive these 5 strategies forward. It's a unique window of opportunity.
It is, but windows don't stay open forever.
You know, there's a quote in the article that really sums up this whole need for a reset. It's from Albert Einstein.
Ah, yes. You cannot solve a problem with the same mind that created it.
It's such a classic line, almost a cliche. But why does Dr. Govender drop it here. How does it apply to a municipal manager in some small town?
He uses it to underscore the need for a fundamental shift in thinking. The old mind is that bureaucratic, siloed, maybe complacent way of doing things. It's the mindset that says, we do it this way because we have always done it this way. That's the mind that created the mess.
And the new mind.
The new mind is this combination of the GNU's collaborative potential and these 5 modern strategies. It's thinking in terms of technology, partnerships, and data, not just files and stamps. It's seeing the citizen as a partner, not a nuisance.
It's admitting that the old way just doesn't work for a modern South Africa.
Correct. And to bring it all back to where we started, the ultimate metric of success here isn't a balanced budget or a clean audit, though those are important. The real metric is the quality of life.
That's the so what of this whole discussion. We aren't just fixing local government to have tidy spreadsheet.
We're fixing it so people can live with dignity. When you get this right, when you have skilled staff using tech, working with the community, you reduce inequality. You ensure that a child in a rural area has the same access to clean water as someone in a rich metro suburb. That is the goal.
It really paints a picture of what's possible. It's easy to get cynical about potholes and power cuts. It's almost our national sport to complain about them. But reading this,
there's the blueprint. The blueprint exists. We have the diagnosis, bureaucracy, scarcity, corruption. We have the tools, capacity building, tech, partnerships, engagement, monitoring. And we have the political moment with the JNU.
So let's just recap the journey we've been on. We started with the frustration of a system that's failing. We looked at the reasons why, the red tape, lack of funds, mismanagement. Then we unpacked the solution kit.
Training the people, digitizing the systems, bringing in partners, listening to the community, and watching the data.
And we put it all in the current political context, seeing the GNU not just as some marriage of convenience, but as a potential stabilizer and reformer.
But, as we always say on the deep dive, knowing the path is different from walking the path.
That's the crucial takeaway. Dr. Govender's article is a thought piece, a strategic guide. But knowledge is only valuable when it's applied. These strategies have to move from paper to pavement.
From the blog post to the budget meeting?
Exactly. A real-time feedback app is useless if no one checks the dashboard.
A town hall is useless if the officials ignore what's said. A training course is useless if the employee just goes back to a department that crushes innovation.
It requires a culture shift. And that's the hardest part, isn't it?
It is. It takes courage to change the way things have always been done.
You know, it leaves me with a big question to chew on. We have the tech, we have the training manuals, we know what works. So if the blueprint for success involves such clear steps, transparency, tech, training, why does implementation remain the hardest part?
That is the million-dollar question.
Is the new mind that Einstein spoke of, is it harder to cultivate than the technology is to buy?
It just might be. Changing a computer system takes months. Changing a mindset, a whole culture of governance, that can take a generation. But the urgency of the situation suggests we don't have a generation to wait.
A sobering but important thought to end on. It's not just about the hardware, it's about the headware, the mindset of the people running the show.
Absolutely.
Well, that's all for this deep dive into local government service delivery. A huge thank you to the insights from Dr. Daniel Govender and the team at Regent Business School for giving us this roadmap.
It was a pleasure unpacking it.
And to you, listening. Next time you see a municipal truck, think about the massive machine behind it and the strategies trying to make it run better. Stay curious, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.